that's mostly GPT-3, I think.
Yeah.
So I think with GPT-3, there's, of course, you have the API, so you can get a response within 200 milliseconds or so. And that's why a lot of startups use that now. And then it can scale really easily because you just have an API. You don't have any load on your own server. So it's really easy to scale startups with that. But with ChatGPT, it's a bit more difficult. And that's, I also want to move to, or at least allow the ChatGPT, the GPT-3 API in my platform, so you can just switch. Because with ChatGPT, you have to use the browser automation still, and it's hard to scale and make a backend for it because you have all these things that want to prevent it. You have rate limits.
That's a good point. I was using Stable Diffusion the other day. And or just like a lot of them, I was using Stable Diffusion. I was using another one called Midjourney, and the loading time for the AI, like the request response loop, can be like 1 to like 30 or 40 seconds, kind of.
1 to 40. That's
like some of the response times can be very quick, and then some can be kind of longer, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
What's interesting about ChatGPT is that I don't know if it's through the browser. Like when the response comes back, it starts to like write back to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a streaming API, but I believe it's not. I think it's just because they want to make it look nice. And they don't want to have people use it that fast yet, because they want to limit people.
Totally.
Yeah. So I definitely believe that technically it's feasible to get a response with such a model under a couple 100 milliseconds. So it's not a problem. You can like design your product on that knowledge, because they're gonna be available anyway.
What's your thoughts about Stable Diffusion versus Midjourney and versus DALL-E 2?
Yeah, so I kind of briefly used each one of them. So Midjourney seems to be able to do like almost like I was able to do like more cartoony stuff and more animated stuff. With Stable Diffusion, it was very kind of like almost more photorealistic type of stuff, but it was able to kind of come out with great quality. And DALL-E, I was able to do very kind of like almost like abstract animations of things. So that's kind of how I kind of characterize it in my mind. I also found that with Midjourney, I basically I didn't realize, but it's a trial basis, and you have to pay for it. So I basically played around with it for like 40 minutes. And then after that, it was like, I couldn't, they cut me off, and it's like, hey, you're past the free tutorial.
Yeah. Is it hard to do prompts for them? Does it differ per model? How hard it is to prompt?
Yeah, like it's very particular. They're very particular, like, but they're also very powerful. So you can kind of put in a prompt, and then if you change it, if you say like photorealistic, it's like, then it becomes a photorealistic. And in some ways I think about it, I'm like, well, why would I not want it to be photorealistic? Like it seems like an obvious default, but you have to specify exactly. Like if you just say like, I want a picture of a beach, it like gives something, and then if you say photorealistic, it's totally different. And in your mind, sometimes when you're putting these prompts in, it's funny that the computer doesn't kind of have that like default expectation or like working understanding of your world.
And also
it's very crazy. It's very like out of world experience.
Probably because it got trained on a data set with all these alts that probably are very wide range of images that it was trained on, and it doesn't maybe specify, or you don't specify that it has to be a cartoon or something, and then it just picks anything. Maybe.
Personally, I'm a huge fan of Midjourney.
What?
Midjourney, right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Midjourney and less of the other two. I've been using DALL-E 2 and Stable Diffusion 2, and like every output I get from Midjourney is just so much better. And like,
do you know the underlying model of Midjourney?
Haven't looked into that.
Because I thought it was actually similar to the one of
Midjourney is an independent research lab exploring new mediums to expand it.
Just in chat, I put an image in chat there. So those are the two like Midjourney outputs. After like playing for a while, those were the two that I came out with. So the first top one is I I was trying to get a futuristic video of what Vibe Hut would look like, and so I did some prompts. And then the second one was a UX UI futuristic car webpage.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good.
This one I saw someone post.
Yeah.
The car one. It's really cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love it.
It's so good, right? And so that was kind of like the car one. I was following a guy on YouTube, and he's like, hey, that's how I found out about Midjourney. And he's kind of like, hey, go to this Discord, and then basically it was like type in what you want, and then say UX UI website layout, blah blah blah, and then it came out with this kind of like. So even there's small details in there where there's like a carousel, and there's like a header bar and like a footer, and it's like. It's actually trying to get towards a layout that potentially could work. Like obviously you need a UX UI designer to kind of pull it all, but this guy used the
especially
images.
it's probably very hard to get the texts out that are presented here already, unless you can ask it to do everything separate or something. I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
That would be very nice if you have kind of a Photoshop that it generates, like with different layers.
Right.
That would be so sick. But yeah, I don't know. But by the way, what are you working on then? Because you seem to be more into images now, or do you want to?
No. It was just like a very quick like research. One there's an AI researcher in my condo here, so I was talking to him about some AI tools, and then I was just doing a little bit of research for like a half hour kind of.
Well, this looks really cool. The second image that you sent, the one with the guy with the laptop looking at the world.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Love that one.
It's Midjourney, and it's a really easy prompt. Let's see what I asked him.
This is like a really cool logo for Code from Anywhere, I believe.
Yeah, I generated to make a LinkedIn post. It's like generate a person setting goals for this next year on a tropical island surrounded by beautiful nature and a volcano in the background. That's it.
Wow.
And then
the other one is Code from Bali.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
I've been playing around with these thoughts, and they're like 3D renders and whatever. Like even I think
I love this. I really want to play around with this too, but I need some. I want to integrate it with my own tooling first.
The last one was where I wanted to see if I describe myself and see how we came up with a portrait.
Wow.
It's like, that's very interesting. That if you can describe yourself really well, maybe it almost looks the same.
Yeah. Then the Midjourney is cool because you can add the bot to your Discord server. So I have just my personal server where nobody is in, just me. I added it to a channel, and then I have a Midjourney channel. So there I have all my prompts and all the images.
Okay. Oh, wow. Can you cool. Can't we do that with Code from Anywhere too?
I can add it to the Code from Anywhere server, yes. And
yeah, that's nice.
Midjourney server in there.
That's just fun for people to play around with, right?
Yes, I will do that.
Yeah,
I really like the one really with the earth, and the mountain. That's really cool. The guy with the laptop.
It's so crazy that this is just a prompt, right? Like you think about it and you're like, oh, okay, like it's a cool image, but then you realize that like nobody drew that. No human made that. That's AI.
Yeah. It still blows my mind.
It was the second prompt I did. This was the first prompt. Here I did not mention tropical island or tropical background. So then he really made the volcano stand out.
Wow. Just amazing.
Very dark.
Very dark.
Much more dark.
Yeah, it's like Lord of the Rings style.
Yeah.
But I guess if I call it Mordor, he also gives something like that.
Yeah. Totally.
But even the posture of the guy, the backpacks, the small details.
Yeah. Much better than DALL-E. If you want to do something with DALL-E, you get a person with 3 arms or without head.
Yeah. Totally.
So, what are you guys working on mostly now? Last couple weeks.
Yeah, so I've just been working on talking to a lot of people. And my whole thing is to make conversation is kind of reachable as possible. So there's just been a lot of tweaks on Viput, planning for the kind of the future in terms of what the next kind of couple quarters looks like, how we can support communities that drive engagement and conversation all the time. So certain things like even as we have this call right now, it's limited to 6 people in the call. One thing that happens is that this call shows up on the sidebar of Viput. And so even when you go into Discord, it's like you see all these people in the sidebar, but it doesn't feel like, oh, I could talk to all those people. So we're adding in a section to the top of the page to say, these are the active calls that are live right now. So when we're talking right now and people come to Viput, it'd be like, hey, this, and it would say like, you can join this one, or like this one's password protected, or this one's NFT token. So then people can like just discover. And then in addition to that, we'll have underneath that is a chat as well. So these are active chats. So I've been getting the designs for that.
And are you trying to find also ways to integrate some of these things that are new, like Chatgpt and Whisper, for example?
Yeah, like it depends on, like there's all sorts of levels. Like maybe I do like the idea of transcribing audio after the call, right? Using Whisper, using we can try Whisper or Descript, and then giving somebody a summary and saying like, hey, like this is what the call was like. And then,
your goal is to find more people for those chats, right?
Yeah, like it's definitely multifaceted. There's several layers.
Have you thought of the idea of if you transcribe it with Whisper and you separate the speakers, you have a pretty good summarization of or at least even also if you then ask ChatGPT about this thing, but it's already a really good overview of what happened in the meeting, right? What was said, what it was about. And then maybe you can have different prompts on top of that are automated with ChatGPT, like a summary, but maybe you can also ask it things like, hey, what were some interesting things that were said in this meeting? And then maybe you can even present that back to the people in the meeting. Like, hey, were some highlights, like this guy said this and this guy said that. And maybe every person can even get some tweet ideas from it or something, or LinkedIn post ideas. I don't know. And then they can just share it themselves, and that will lead back to the community.
Yeah, I like that idea where it sounds like what you're saying is that, okay, take the transcript, and then where the AI starts to come in and become useful is saying, give it a prompt and saying like, give me the interesting, like 3 or 5 interesting points from this discussion and see what it comes out with.
Yeah, exactly. And then just present that to the people in the meeting, and then they can choose whether or not they want to share it on social media. There could be buttons even, or you can just email it to them. And then if they share it, then it's really good for them because it's good for networking and it's good to put more people into the next one.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And it would, like that's something that would save people a lot of time, because like now people, they have so many calls, but it's never transcribed, and it's never like it always for me it ends up in my meeting notes, and I run through it once or twice, but I don't do anything with it. And if I want to edit, for example, the call we had last time, it takes also a lot of time to unedit it and then transcribe it and find the good, like I have to re-listen it all once before knowing what the important parts are. And then I
think there's a lot of things that can be automated now, things like that, because you already said it, you already have the knowledge, but then you just have to put it in the right format. And now we can program with language.
Yeah, totally. Andrew.
Hey there.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry I'm late. I was at the gym.
It's all good. It's all good. So Karsens, Rick, I know Andrew. He is. Maybe Andrew, it's probably better for you to kind of give a background on yourself, but we've met a couple times.
Yeah. Well, we've met in person too, thankfully, in this new virtual world of ours. I'm Andrew Jenkins. I have a social media agency called Volterra, and we work B2B, B2C, nonprofit, and I also teach social media strategy at the University of Toronto.
Okay.
Nice.
Sorry, what was the last part? What do you teach?
I teach social media strategy for enterprises at the University of Toronto.
Ah, wow, nice.
Thank you.
What do you are you already doing stuff with Chatgpt and other language models, maybe?
I've played around with it, from the absurd, from, I'll start with the funny. I said, just for an exercise, I said, I asked ChatGPT for steps to take that if you needed to hold in a fart so you wouldn't shit yourself. And it gave me 7 steps on how not to.
Wow.
So I haven't written a blog post about that yet, but that's from the crazy to I've also written a book on social media strategy, and I pasted in 5,000 words from one of my chapters, and I said summarize this, and it gave me a 300-word summary in 15 seconds. And then as another added exercise, I took that summary and I took it over to Tome, which is the new AI presentation tool. And I said, create a presentation based on this summary. And it created an 8-slide presentation from the summary. And
how was it? What was the quality of it?
I mean, it really didn't do much to the text. I can't say as I liked the choices of visuals. They went with black background, a very sort of like ominous look. But just the fact that I could take, I'll call it an existing piece of content, a chapter of my book, turn it into something else, a summary, then turn it into something else, basically without getting my hands dirty.
Yeah.
And then I also did 2 things. I said, what are the optimal steps to be taken to ensure return on investment with a social media strategy? And it gave me a whole list of bullet points. And then I did the same thing for paid social campaign strategies for LinkedIn and then for Facebook and Instagram. Just to test. And I mean, in many ways, it was producing what I've seen as blog content in any number of places. But still, like I know it's early days, but if we can do that kind of stuff now, I'm quite interested in seeing where it goes. So anyway, that's how much I've played with it thus far.
Yeah, nice. I'm particularly interested in what you said in the beginning about summarizing the chapter of the book. Did you read the summary? How good was the summary? Did you like it? Yeah. Okay. That's really nice. I really think because most chapters because I was thinking about summarizing, being able to summarize books. That's a really, really useful thing, right? And I was thinking sometimes the books have chapters that are related to each other, so then it's probably harder because the context size becomes too big.
Right.
You would have more than 5,000 words in total.
Also, this chapter was about social media listening, social media monitoring, and reputation management. So, in a sense, to your point about context, although I would make references between chapters throughout the book.
Yeah.
Each of the chapters were somewhat standalone because I was shifting from topic to topic, and whether it was literally a bullet by bullet point summary, I wouldn't say it's that. It was more about a synopsis of the overarching theme or overarching message of the chapter. And so I thought, it's kind of like, what would I say at the end of a presentation? What are the key takeaways, or what are the reminders? And that's I think what it did well.
Okay.
And just really quickly,
chapters to play around with. We'll see.
Hey, Karsens and Rick, if you just want to introduce yourself really quickly, just so Andrew has context.
Oh yeah. Sorry. So I'm Wijnand. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm developing a tool for ChatGPT called GPT IDE, and it's basically a text editor to work with your own files and your own information with ChatGPT. Yeah, that's what I'm working on, and I'm also looking into the broader landscape of all the new possibilities with it. Very
Well, if
interested
you
in
want
all
me to
the
give you a
applications.
chapter to play with your tool, happy to do that.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm working on currently on making it a bit easier for people to use it, because it's currently a bit technical, and I believe that the last version is not even working. Also, if you're a developer.
Well, no, I'm not a developer.
But yeah, but I will. I'm gonna make it very easy to install. So then I will. Yeah, if you give me your contact, then I can let you know when it's ready, and then you can just try it out on your book, for example.
Yeah. Well, but I was saying, even if you want to use it for your own testing purposes,
Yeah.
we can take that conversation offline.
Okay. Cool.
And I'm more the creative marketing side. Also no code. I've been mainly working in Web3 the past 2 years. Social media marketing and project management. But now with the AI stuff happening and Web3 being a bit more on the backbone, I'm also focusing on experimenting what's going on here, what we can build with it. And me and Karsens, Wijnand, are going to organize a boot camp in Bali where we want to build our own digital product, maybe with ChatGPT, maybe something else, we will see. And that's our near-term plan.
Cool.
Yeah, we're inviting a group of developers there to join us in a villa and yeah, create some new amazing stuff.
And Repo, I saw you join too. I'm not sure if I saw your. If you just want to tell me about yourself or tell the group about yourself, that'd be great.
Hey, hey everyone. Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, we can hear. We
that's great.
can't see you. We can just see your profile picture, but yeah, we can hear you.
Oh yeah. I don't have a webcam in this new setup yet, so yeah. Apologies.
Gotcha.
So I am 21 years of age, and I do just normal lead gen, like social media lead gen for brick and mortar businesses. So like businesses that just have a physical location and they're not online or any of that stuff. So I just help them do lead gen and get clients online as like an extra source of revenue for them. So yeah, that's what I do.
And are you using ChatGPT for lead gen now?
No. I've actually like just seen this idea of AI like being able to implement that into business or like into business and into like services that can actually help businesses or myself grow. So yeah, that's what I'm interested in.
Very cool, very cool. And are there any tools that you've been using that you like, or not even using yet? Maybe you're just looking, but what have you seen?
Yeah, I've just been on GPT, like looking at all the different stuff. It's probably I do like it a lot, but like in terms of like increasing productivity is really good, but all the marketing, all the strategies and all that, I think still needs a human touch to it, I would say.
Yeah, very, very fair. I can imagine that Andrew also has some suggestions, but just content strategies and ways that maybe lead gen can be carried out too.
Well, I'm seeing like people use ChatGPT. There's I guess literally from ChatGPT, there's a Chrome extension to it'll run, like if you identify someone on LinkedIn, for example, it'll run like it'll write a intro message to send through LinkedIn. I haven't tested it out to see how good it is, but even if it does the heavy lifting, and then you can do some polishing after that. You know, that's one thing. I saw a comment from someone this morning on LinkedIn saying, you know, the fear is with ChatGPT that we might produce too much content and not necessarily good content. because we're allowing speed to overtake quality. And so, yeah, I'm a little fearful of that too, is that if I defer to it too much, that I stop vetting it first. And also, like, as an instructor at a university, who have students write stuff, I'm a little worried about, this looks awfully bot-like in terms of its writing style.
Have you told your students about it? Or
Not yet, no. So I finished my fall semester around the 17th of December, and then my winter spring semester starts in 2 weeks. So I'm sure it'll come up.
you can just ask them about, maybe you can ask them about really creative things that GPT cannot do on their own. Like, what if you would ask your students to write an essay about how GPT and language models in general could change social media strategy?
Well, I think you raise a good point. For me, I still see it as a tool. And as the saying goes, a fool with a tool is still a fool. That if we're not careful, that we will rely too much on it. Like, so yeah, it's a great tool, but if you are, quote, a strategist, you still have to, okay, great. It gave me all the 7 steps to for a social media strategy. I still have to go do it. And then I have to be able to measure how well it did, and it's not perfect because there are, industry factors, a whole bunch of market factors that could influence its success. And so I don't know if Chatgpt can handle the nuances, if that makes sense. So it's still early days.
Yeah, I noticed that as well when I was scrolling through LinkedIn, for example, and already like this little voice in my head says like, oh, this guy used ChatGPT, this guy is he wrote it himself. So that's the scary part, or the too much content part. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
Well, and there's plagiarism tools that my university provides us to test whether stuff was plagiarized, but now there's also tools that can test whether or not the piece of content looks suspiciously like it was written by an AI tool. So
Nice.
that's
Is it already something you can do? Like, is that a SaaS product or something, or how does that work?
I just someone it was a TikTok about it, and I bookmarked it. I have to go back to see what he was like. He referenced the website, but I haven't. I just bookmarked it, and it's one of my to-dos to go back and take a closer look at it.
Seems like something that would be very useful to many reasons,
Yeah.
many use cases.
Well, the final assignment for our semester is a social media audit and competitive analysis. And with all due respect to ChatGPT, it can run a SWOT analysis. It can do a couple things, but it can't stitch it all together. So, like, maybe they can use it to break down some components, but again, you have to have the insight to stitch it all together and then present back what's the so what. What's the actual insight from those efforts? And I think that's where the gap might be still with ChatGPT.
Well, I think I'm working actually also I'm thinking about that area also. Like, how can you stitch together information from many places and then ask something about it? And what I found is a really interesting library. It's called GPT Index.
Okay.
It's a library for programmers. What it does is it lets you search with ChatGPT or any language model for a bigger data set of information, and then you can get the right pieces of information first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the first step. First, you get the right pieces of information, and then you can ask something about those different pieces, and then maybe it can combine different pieces of information from different places, and that way you might be able to automate bigger, harder things that would normally not be able to be done with a single question, right?
Well, I saw somebody do a TikTok about it, and then I replicated it. It was like, I said, do a SWOT analysis of the following social media platforms in table format. and I gave it, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, I think, or Instagram. I did 5, and like, bang, 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 15 seconds. It gave me all the advantages and disadvantages, blah, blah, blah. But it blanked on TikTok. It just said it's one of the fastest growing. It didn't have anything else to add, which I thought was interesting. But it had strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for all the other 5 or 4. So I mean that could be part of this. I've shared Chatgpt with my ex-wife, who's a systems analyst, to say like this can write code for you, it can check code for you, and so in some ways I think the immediate value is it can make us more productive, and we're still knowledge workers, and we can focus on, I'll call it, the stuff that we still need to do as humans. And some of the heavy lifting and grunt work can be handed over to ChatGPT. Just like, to use your example from earlier, churning through vast amounts of data in a fast and efficient way that we could never dream of doing. So
Yeah. I think it will take some time for tools to catch up with this, of course. But now it's already useful for some use cases, some smaller tasks,
yeah.
But like you say, like to create really good reports from many different sources of information and put it all together in a creative way, that still will take some time, I guess, to get that right.
But hey,
I
if
do
this is
believe
what
that
like
it's
1 month in,
yeah.
who knows where it can go, right?
Yeah, and then this is just GPT 3.5 with the same amount of parameters as GPT-3, and GPT-4 will come out within a couple months, which is like 500 times bigger. So who knows what happens then?
Well, and then the folks like yourself that are adding to it, or taking it in different directions.
Yes,
it's sort of like the Salesforce ecosystem of all these third parties that have added on to this core Salesforce, and now people are adding on to ChatGPT.
Yeah, true. So can you before I forget, send me your LinkedIn or
I
anything?
invited you to connect on LinkedIn. Chris, I tried to toggle to the chat to put my LinkedIn link in there, and it's not letting me.
Yeah, I was looking at your profile. I cannot click on the LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that would be a nice feature. I also got to that issue.
Oh, if you go to view profile.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah,
it doesn't work.
On view profile, Andrew, if you add your LinkedIn there, like maybe after the call or something.
But I can't even toggle to the chat window right now in our Vibe Hut session to paste the link to my.
So weird.
Look, can you see my screen? This is what I see on his profile.
Yeah.
But then I try to click here. You can't.
You know what? The reason that is just there's kind of 2 things happening. Yeah. So the one on Karsens, the one with yours, LinkedIn actually is super restrictive on the basic API. So they actually only give profile picture and first name. They don't give the link to the user's profile. So the user actually has to add in their link to the profile.
Oh, so you signed in with LinkedIn.
He signed in with LinkedIn. Exactly.
I see. Yeah, it's a really annoying API. I have used it.
It's a nightmare. I hate them. And then on record, please LinkedIn, be more generous to developers, please. Thank you so much. I appreciate your platform a lot. I really love LinkedIn, but I wish your API was more open.
Where do I'm on my account. Contact. Is it in my?
Yeah, it just says edit profile there.
Yeah. Okay.
I found it. Yes.
And then you can just paste in your LinkedIn URL. Oh, we might have lost Karsens there. Anyway.
Click the wrong button.
Yeah. And then Andrew, I'm not sure. I can get into chat, no problem. So maybe that's.
Well, I'm just updating my profile, so my LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram are there. So everyone should be able to let me know if you're. I'll just reload the page. Yeah, I keep clicking on the chat tab and it won't open.
So weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gremlins. It's okay. Well,
Yeah.
like I've updated the social links to my profile, and I'll make sure that my email and phone number are there too, so I can fix that. So.
Very nice. And Karsens, you're talking about this GPT index.
Yeah. Shall I show it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here too. Or yeah, you can show it.
Yeah, or if you're already looking at it,
Sure.
maybe you can show it. I have to pull it up. But...
Yeah, sure, I got it.
Yeah, it's from Jerry Gilu. Do you have that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I haven't tried it yet, but I saw that he is already working on it since November. And it seems that something that is exactly what I wanted to make myself, but I didn't have time for it yet. But it lets you, like, with a bigger portion, like a very big amount of information, it lets you basically search through it and index it in a way, and get the right information that you need from it. Also,
Gotcha.
so
I see.
it basically solves the problem that you have a limit of 5,000 characters or words.
I see. Gotcha. So the input on the website for ChatGPT can only hold 5,000 characters. This would allow you to load a file and then query anything here in the kind of question text here. So you load from the disk in a JSON file, and then you can query that. And it seems like it's maybe doing even more because it has this child branch factor.
Child what?
There's this thing called child branch factor. I don't know what that means.
Where do you see that?
Just here, just in the query.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I didn't really try it out yet, but I will once I try it out. I will maybe I can do it. I can talk about it next week or so if I tried it out.
Yeah, cool.
I'm definitely going to. So.
Yeah.
It's a small thing on my contact info. Does it make a difference? It lists the U.S. flag for my phone number.
The U.S. So the U.S. flag or Canadian flag, it's no different. It's all area code 1.
Right, but I can't switch it to Canada. Is my point.
I think it just automatically
because
it automatically selects. Yeah.
It defaults to the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, you can't change it, just so you know.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into
that. What flag are you talking about?
He's just talking about setting up the notifications. So on Vibe, you can set up notifications for email and SMS for reminders.
Well, I get the reminders by text, but for in the contact information section, you can specify what country you're from, and both the U.S. and Canada use 1 as its long distance prefix. But
you're right though. It shows that drop down there, and the drop you can't click the drop down.
Right.
Like it has that little affordance being like, hey, here's the arrow, and you're like,
it's just taunting me.
Yeah. That's a very good point. I'll get that right.
I've been discussing the idea that came out of our previous call on the Christmas dinner tables about education, and have ChatGPT make a new online education system specifically for certain types of people. For example, university student, or for example, a 6-year-old, or for example, a guy who is way too smart for his age that they can go learn on themselves. And then the way of how that we can take the curriculum, put it into ChatGPT, have ChatGPT generate a script, and then maybe that AI even can turn that into a cartoon series for kids, for example, so they can learn through cartoon series. I would love to hear what a university professor thinks of this idea, or if this would ever be an option.
The dilemma I face so I have taught both in person and online, and because we're in a highly connected world, and because of COVID, it was all online. And I'll have a class of 15 to 20 students online, And the majority of them just want to log on, keep their camera off, and if I ask an open-ended question, they'll respond in text on chat. And that's their preferred, like, it's kind of like it caters to introverts. And I'm a bit of an introvert myself. But I prefer in-class instruction because I find I can stay focused versus, it's like, we're at home, we're on our computer, we can open another tab while we're listening to a webinar or whatever. Like, we can do many things at once, and it's not necessarily the wise thing to do. And now I teach at the School of Continuing Studies, so all my students are older, they're working professionals, they've already graduated from college or university, and now they're adding to this. But to your point about teaching children, Zoom school during COVID was really, really challenging for a lot of children because their attention spans were so short. They're antsy, getting them to just, and my daughter was working with a girl to help assist her parents with Zoom school, and it was getting her back to the computer to pay attention for the class was a real challenge. And so I like your idea, but it would be really testing the limits of asking Chatgpt to basically design curriculum and design the delivery and specify I'll call it an online version and a in-class version, because some of it can vary by age group. And the other thing is I do a lot of LinkedIn training for sales teams. And this, if we've ever gone through a workshop for where we work, it comes down to, oftentimes you'll do a workshop that's a half a day or a full day, and it's too much information at once, and retention is very, very low. So return on investment is very low. But if you can break it up into smaller modules and turn it into a program over longer periods of time, so that people are taking a smaller amount of information, they're learning it, and then they're implementing it, and so the higher retention becomes stickier. And so again, in some ways we have to advise Chatgpt to recognize the best practices and the context for teaching and training. It's a very long-winded answer to your question, but there's nuances, there's complexities, and there's considerations. So,
yeah.
But I think you're right that I think people will start using it for curriculum design, but there has to be a recognition that we have to recognize what kind of delivery the curriculum will have as well.
Yeah, what I find very interesting personally about education and ChatGPT or language models in general is that it might be able to present the material, the information in a way more personalized and way more interactive way. So I think because this is more a general purpose chatbot now, ChatGPT, of course, but if you are able with tools like GPT Index that we just discussed to present the material in a book or maybe in a course in a way more interactive way through a chat, for example, and make sure that it doesn't tell anything else that's not in the book. So it will only be talking about what's in the book or in the course and not about anything else. If you can make that possible, I think that will be amazing. I think we'll be able to have basically a one-on-one teacher that we can ask anything.
Well, you raised an interesting point there about, and I didn't think about it, was this idea of, so there's curriculum design, but I'm thinking more as if ChatGPT were the instructor to a group of people. But to your point, ChatGPT can be the instructor to a group of people, but in a one-on-one context. So it can, the greater likelihood of, even though it's interactive and it's online, there's a greater likelihood of engagement by the learner because it's feeling more like a conversation. It feels like being tutored versus being just sort of like lectured to, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. That's also the point I made at the Christmas table when they said like, yes, but they will not pay attention. But I say like, yes, but if they love watching SpongeBob, it's much easier to watch 14 hours of SpongeBob teaching you math than sitting in the classroom for 7 hours and fighting against your eyes falling asleep, kind of.
Yeah, so that's the other side, right? So that's the personalization part that can make it more fun and engaging, or I mean, not engaging, but more fun to listen to see. But the interactive part is that it would make it like you can ask it questions, and it can be one-on-one. So you basically have a one-on-one mentor that you can ask anything about a certain material, and that will be way more effective, I think, to learn things in general.
It's interesting on that topic of actually two thoughts. So the one on the cartoon was interesting, Rick, because potentially you could have like a Chatgpt write like a basic cartoon, and then you say, okay, for the second episode we're gonna make it about this, but then add in a lesson to teach somebody like the basics of math, right? And it's like the cartoon just could be written in a way, being like, hey, like, and then it'd say like, keep it funny, keep it lighthearted, but add in the fact that 1 + 1 = 2, and repeat it 3 times throughout the episode.
It's like wrapping a pill for your dog in cheese.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And that just seems like just a brilliant way to kind of like slowly, like, I don't know, it's like exactly as you're saying, Andrew, it's wrapping that kind of pill in cheese. And I guess we all do it to ourselves in all sorts of ways, but it's interesting here how we might be able to be so intentional with the AI and say, okay, I'm delivering a product for my kid, but I want them to learn this, and I don't want to have to teach them 1 + 1 = 2. But if you could have the cartoon teach them, that would be very convenient for me.
It won't feel like learning. It'll feel like entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know if you already saw like what it's capable of, but probably like I like it's fun that we have this topic, because this is one of my main examples on this website, GPT Ideas, where I present the text editor. So you have all these different versions here. This is like a description of how you can install it. And this is a description by the cartoon Rick and Morty, where Rick explains Morty the same thing on how to install this thing. So you can definitely do that, 100%. I already also tried to automate using voice cloning with the voices of Rick and Morty, and yeah, it did work. The voices were just not that well trained, but yeah,
it'll get there.
Pretty fun.
Gentlemen, I've got to run to another call. Lovely to meet you. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, and I look forward to keeping in touch.
Yeah,
thanks for putting this together, Chris. This was fun, and I hope to join you again on the next session.
Amazing.
Okay.
Bye.
See you later.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
See you. Guys, I also have to move on.
Yeah.
Taking a bus in like a couple minutes, 10 minutes or so.
All
Awesome.
right. Okay, guys.
Yeah. See you later.
Okay. See you guys. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.